so we are rolling. I don't really have proper introductions. This is why I like talking to people beforehand, because you kind of get the conversation juices flowing. But I think it would be good for the people to at least know who you are, what you do, and what your background is, and then we'll kind of work into what we were just talking about, because I think it's some really interesting stuff that people could benefit from.
So, Kirk Gibson, owner of Max Belief, and what Max Belief is basically I help athletes, salespeople overcome the limiting beliefs, the roadblocks that keep them from reaching their goals and attaining their dreams. We all make decisions, but we don't often know that it's a decision. We have beliefs, but we don't necessarily realize that at one point that belief was a decision. And so many times those mental roadblocks, those decisions that we made unconsciously, are keeping us from reaching their goals. Like I say, I've worked with salespeople all over the world and different athletes all over the world as well. And it's those little decisions, those little things that once you really break it back down and you look at the goal that somebody set and you figured out how they're going through it, that there's little things that once you can figure that out and you can get underneath that surface of the water and use some tools to remove those, all of a sudden you see people move forward. And that progress can be amazing. So that's what I do. I've been doing it for years. I've done it on the corporate side. I've done it personal side. And like I say, right now I'm working with athletes and salespeople all over the world.
So when you say we make these small decisions that impact us, what do you mean? So we were kind of talking about how the way you talk to yourself, I had said that I was trying to do something, and that's one that you and I first talked about. Is the language that we use, but what else do you mean by those like little decisions that we make, even throughout our day, like where we take shortcuts on getting things done? Can you elaborate on that?
I'm on a podcast and I'm nodding my head, so there's a great idea behind that. Once again, I made the decision to nod my head because we're talking personally, but on the podcast, nobody can hear that. You don't think about what those decisions are. But I'm gonna go back and go totally foundational. And quite often I start with this thought process as I talk to somebody. What you believe is what you project. What you project is what is perceived, and that perception becomes reality to that person that's sitting across from you. But it also becomes reality to ourselves. So everything that you see, say, hear, goes into our mind, and we take it and we filter it through our mind and we take it personally. And so when we're coming back with that thought process of what I believe is what I project, and what I project is what I perceive, and that perception is reality, what you say, you're hearing yourself. So when you say, I'm trying to do something, and you really break down that word, try, it's one of the most debilitating words in the English language as far as I'm concerned. When you try to do something, think about it. Have you ever talked to somebody who tried to lose weight? They told you, I tried to lose weight, and were they successful?
Never.
Have you talked to somebody who lost weight? See, there's a difference right there. They didn't try to lose weight. They went ahead and did it. But as soon as you say, I'm going to try to do something, you set yourself up for failure. Because you can say, yes, I put in that effort. I put in an effort, but it was hard. So I went ahead and put in the effort, and since I put in that effort, it's okay. It's okay because I tried. It's okay to fail. Words mean things. There's a connotation carried with everything that we say, and we've got to be cognizant of what that connotation is, internally and externally to that person you're talking to. When I talk to the athletes, it's more about that internal verbiage, but you can tell what they're setting themselves up for. I'm as guilty of it as anybody else, by listening to the language that they use. And you hear little words like try, or I'm going to attempt to do that. No, just make the decision to do it. You may fail, that's okay. But then follow that up with, why did I fail? What can I do better next time? So it's a constant continual learning process as you go. I realize I've just dove, off the high.
You just went into the deep end.
But it's so fun. It's so fun to sit down and think about what drives people to be successful and what the successful people are doing in their mind that is allowing them to get there versus the people who aren't. The people who haven't made those decisions, who's allowed their beliefs to get in their way. Because we all make limiting decisions on a daily basis. And quite often, what I'm calling a limiting decision is a belief. All of our beliefs at one point was a decision. You made it, it's a belief, it's hardwired into you, but at some point you made the decision to believe in that belief, and what somebody else said or what you read or what went in there, that became a belief, but it was a decision. Most people don't realize that it was a decision because it's hardwired into who they are. But if you can get them to go back to when they made it, all of a sudden we can start to unpack all those other decisions that came back because of it, and then be able to figure out how to move forward.
Well, and I'm glad that you jumped into the deep end, because my immediate thought is a lot of people think that this is something that they are just not able to do. Like, I'm not born with this skill that Kirk has developed. But just like I was saying, because you've done a lot of public speaking, but you've never come on a podcast. And even with me, like, I'm kind of spotty doing podcasts sometimes. It's a skill. It's something that you have to work towards. It's something that you have to do consistently to get better. So a lot of these internal processes that you're laying out for people, it's something that you can create. And so as I was plugging 75 Hard before this, it's been that type of program where the way that Andy Frisella describes it is you got your bitch voice and you got essentially, I don't remember what he calls it, but it's essentially your boss voice.
Yes.
And once you identify and you're able to be aware of when your bitch voice is getting pretty high, and you just know that, okay, that's not me, that's my brain trying to tap out, which again, we're all human, so we're all prone to that. You can start to combat it with your boss voice. And I think that that's where people really start to make progress. So I'm glad that you laid that out, because I think it's helpful for people to know that it's not just something that you're born with. It's something that you have to create. It's just like discipline. I could use all the excuses in my life because of how my childhood was with my parents. They're still great people. They're still together. But of course, the way that they raised me impacted the way that I made decisions, how I was undisciplined. But I don't blame them at this point, because I realize it's something that I have to create. And the most gratifying thing in that whole process, if people start to learn how to do that, is that they know that at some point they'll realize I'm a different person because they've changed their habits. It's a whole concoction. That's why it's so exciting for both of us, because we're trying to lay it out, but it's not so simple. There's so many moving parts to changing your habits and your internal dialogue, but it starts with just being aware of it.
Yes.
And so I guess my question is, so how have you helped your clients recognize that and pivot and get away from it, essentially?
Oh, when you say pivot, all I can think of is the Friends episode with Pivot. So those of you that haven't watched or know Friends, I'm showing my age on that one. As you were talking, you led me into the way that as I do my classes or I talk to different people, one of the things I always start with is if we're doing a class, I'll put up a PowerPoint, or if I'm on Zoom with a client that I've got, I'll throw this up and share my screen, but it says, I am in control of my mind, therefore my results. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. So when you're in control of your mind and therefore your results, that allows you to live life on the cause side of the spectrum. And so when you really think about it, you look at the cause side or you look at the effect side. So you've got the cause side of the spectrum, the effect side of the spectrum. The cause side of the spectrum is what you do. The effect is typically the woe is me. So if you were to take a look at this and what I'll call the dumpster fire of the world, Twitter, right? Mm. If you go out on Twitter, are most of the comments and posts that you see out there, are they coming from people that are taking responsibility for where they're at and where they want to go and trying to cause those results to happen? Or are they on the effect side saying, woe is me, my life sucks because of, this happened because of, not my fault? Which side do you see them normally on?
It's usually bitching and complaining.
Yeah. Thus, the dumpster fire of the world. So you can make that choice initially. parents sound like great people. They set you up. You're here. You've gone through college. You graduated. Things are wonderful. So they help set you up, but you made thousands of choices that caused you to be in this spot, sitting in this chair, talking to me right now. I did the same thing. So when we really think about that, we've got to be aware. Now, here's my favorite example of cause versus effect. So think about it this way. You've had a long day. You've put in 10, 15 hours, whatever. You're pulling back in, and you've got your cat here. And your cat called you today and said, man, I need milk tomorrow morning. And there's no milk in the house, right? I'm obviously being a little bit of facetious here. But you know, if you get out of the car and you walk into your apartment right now and you don't have that milk, you either have to get it tonight or you're going to have to get it tomorrow for you and Mr. Miller, right? So you go ahead and put the car in reverse and you drive back out and you're driving down the road and you're heading to Hy-Vee or whatever your local grocery store is. And as you're going on down that road, you go through a green light. All of a sudden, coming from the other direction, just there goes Johnny Moron. He ran the red light, he hit you. You're not totaled, but the car's got damage, his car's got damage, you're on the side of the road, you're waiting for the police to come, all that other stuff. Who was at fault for that accident? Pretty easy question. You went through a green light, he went through a red light. Who was at fault?
That's him.
He was at fault. Who caused you to be in it?
That's based on my decision.
Yeah, you caused yourself to be in it. You chose to go get milk and be in that intersection at that moment in time. You don't really think about that. That was a choice. You could have picked the milk up originally before you got home and then turned back around. You could have gone to a different store. You could have taken a different route. But because of the decisions that you made, you caused yourself to be in the accident. It wasn't your fault. Now we go back to the reality of where was I born? How was I brought up? Where am I at now? It's all those decisions adding up have caused you to be where you're at. Some people are in great places right now, and they've got there because they had an easy path, but they still made the decisions that got them there. Other people may be in that exact same situation and had to work 12 times as hard to get there, but they made those decisions that got them there. And here's where the real difference comes in. So you're sitting on the side of the road, waiting for the police, so's Johnny Moron that went through that red light and hit you. I'm here to guarantee you, here's what's going through Johnny Moron's mind. Oh my God, the sun was in my eyes, the road was wet because it was raining, and they got every excuse that there's ever been. Whereas if you're on the cost side of the spectrum, you're going, okay, this sucks that I'm here. I've got insurance. I bet Johnny Moron back here doesn't have insurance. But I've got the insurance, but now because I know where I want to be, and I know that there are certain things I've got to do to cause myself to get there, I've still got to get the milk. I've still got to go home. I've got to figure out what's going to go on. So you're running that plan through your mind, figuring out what do I have to do that's going to cause me to get to where I want to go, instead of just sitting and laying on the excuses. It sucks that you're there. It's okay to take a few minutes and realize that and go, this is miserable. But then to suck it back up and go, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's where I want to be. Here's how I'm going to get there. And then move forward, realizing you got yourself into that situation by not taking a different route, picking it up earlier, whatever it may have been. But since you had the ability to get yourself there, you've got your ability to get back out because you are in control of your mind, therefore your results. It doesn't mean that life's going to be perfect. It's going to suck. There's going to be horrible things that are going to happen in life. Just a fact of it, right? But when we realize we have the power inside of us to be able to make that plan, make the decisions that are going to lead us to where we want to go, and work through it. There's the key.
Yeah.
It's not going to just be given to you. You've still got to put in the effort and do the actions that are going to get it done. You've got to call the insurance. You've got to go get it done. You've got to make sure you do have the money to pay for the insurance. It's all of those things add up, but it comes back to you. And I'm going to go right back to where I started with. You're in control of your mind, but you also believe in yourself because you got there. So what you believe is what you project. What you project is what is perceived, and that perception is reality, even when it comes back to yourself. So big circle right there. And I know I just took what you said. Once again, let's go a little bit deeper off the high board, right? But it all ties back in together, and it starts with the mind and the decisions that you make and how you view those decisions, and then set yourself up to move from whatever position you're in now to where you want to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's really important because we have a culture that's been predicated on that victim culture. And so you run into so many, and we've all ran into that person that's making that long list of excuses that you just talked about. And
Over and over
and
again.
they're so toxic that it's like you don't even want to be around them. And I think if you're going to add another layer to this, there are people in their lives that understand that the people that are around them that are not helping them reach their goals, not that you should depend on other people, but your environment is a huge part of it. They're aware of it and they don't get rid of those toxic people. I think that's honestly a huge element of why people can't get to where they are. Is so just like you said, sometimes people need to see it. They need to see an example to believe it because they never saw that in their childhood.
Right.
And again, that's not blaming their childhood. That's just saying that if you didn't have the proper examples growing up, you're not going to think certain things are possible. So you need to be conscious and get ready to eliminate those people, as hard as that may be. You have no obligation to help them fix their life. You have all the obligation in the world to fix your life. And once you recognize that, I think that's probably one of the biggest areas of resistance for people. So they're like, well, you know, like I gotta stay with my parents. You know, I'm trying to help them. Maybe through COVID, you know, you guys weren't making enough money, but it's like there's always room for excuses. Like a guy I internship with, he said everybody has excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Or same thing with opinions.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of people get caught up, and I think. Well, I was going to ask you, it's like, why do you think we have such a victim culture? Like, it's almost become ingrained in so many people.
It's becoming more ingrained.
Yeah.
Easy answer to that is the word easy. It's easy. You don't have to take responsibility if you're the victim, supposedly. Mm-hmm. Oh, it sucks. It's not my fault, right? I want to go back to something you said real quickly, though, on getting rid of the toxic. The toxic is bad, and yes, you've got to get rid of them. It's not that you just leave people laying in the street. And it's not that necessarily if you're in a situation and you're living with somebody and it's toxic that you're just going to walk out the door, but at least put in a filter of some sort that you can realize that you are not the situation, you are you. And that you can have that filter and that block up there. Because as you were saying, if you want to help somebody, that's wonderful. Everybody deserves a handout. Let me take that back. A hand up, not necessarily a handout. But if you are not okay with yourself, if you are not good with yourself, you can't be good with somebody else. Because it has to start internally. And so you've got to get okay with you first. You've got to set yourself up mentally, physically, emotionally, to be okay, to be able to give that hand and ask that person that's across from you, hey, grab a hold. We're going to walk through this together. We're going to get there. But if you are not okay with you, you can't get there. Now that's the issue with the victimhood, because if I'm a victim, you're a victim, they're a victim, and none of it's our fault and anything else, we're going to sit in a big circle and we're going to hold hands and we're going to cry and it's going to be great and we're going to feel miserable with each other and with everything around us, and we'll never move forward. And all of a sudden, if everybody decides to take that, which it does feel like, even though it's not, it does feel like, boy, society's going to be a scary place. Now, I'll tell you this. I've traveled the world, and we hear the messages in the media, on social media, all over the woe is me that I talked about. But when you sit down and you talk to the real people out there, there's more real people that are taking advantage of the opportunities that are out there, are putting in the effort, doing the work, doing the hard things that are going to get them from where they are today to where they want to be. We don't see that. That's not celebrated. That's not the easy way. It doesn't get the clicks. I met you at the Y. I met you in the gym working out. Those people that are in there on a daily basis, they've said, okay, I need to improve myself physically and mentally. When you go work out, it changes the mind. It physically changes the mind, by the way. When you work out, it physically changes it. And so they've made the decision to go do that. That's the norm. What we're seeing from everybody else, and we're seeing on social media, we're seeing on on the mainstream media that's out there, and even some of the other, I don't want to get caught in the political side of it. The woe is me is not the majority. There are a lot of people out there, the people that are working day in, day out, going to work, doing the jobs, doing the hard things. They're the ones that we need to model. They're the ones that are showing us the way, and that is the majority. It just happens to be that it's easier to blow up the others. Mm-hmm. And it's a reminder that I need to make to myself on a daily basis. My wife tells me the same thing. Kirk, you know that's not what's real. As I come upstairs from being on my computer going, this sucks. And she's like, whoa, wait a minute. Pull your head out of you nowhere and look at reality. So yeah, it does feel like we're going that way. And it does look like it. And there are a lot of people who have decided victimhood is the way to go. I don't believe it's the majority. And one of my missions in life is to make sure that it's not the majority.
Yeah.
Because when you do put in the work, you put in the effort, you can't help but feel better about yourself.
Oh my God, it's infectious.
You see that movement going, yeah. And once again, you said it's infectious. I'll go back, broken record here. If that's what you are projecting, that is, and it's infectious, all of a sudden you project it, that next person picks it back up. They take it, they run with it. That's how we can build that as a culture coming back, that it can be from the ground roots up. It doesn't have to be top down.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just like trying to think of like how to solve this problem, like how it got so bad for a lot of people. I think, like you said, when you get on social media or the internet or whatever, everything is so heightened, but that really isn't the reality, because I've met so many cool people at the gym, and I've seen you in there a lot, and then we finally had that conversation that first day to kind of get your background on what you do professionally. And it's like, holy shit, like there are a bunch of interesting conversations that you can have with people. And I'll go back to the word infectious, because like when you and I talk about this, we're both lighting up. Because I mean, I don't know about you. You said this was your life mission to help people. I think that's what the world needs now more than ever. And people don't realize the amount of power and impact that they can have on other people just through their actions. And that's how leadership is formed, and I think that's what we don't have, especially from government. You have all these people talking about health, not to get into politics, but they're talking about health, and they're the unhealthiest motherfuckers in the world. How are we supposed to believe you? So it's about changing the individual, and the individual will inspire to change other individuals, and that's a domino effect, and that's how movements get started. It's one person at a time. You can't start a revolution overnight. And so that's why I relish in having like conversations like I did with you. And look, it's turned into a podcast. And even if I don't have a big network of people that watch this show, again, just going back to what I said, if one person watches this, gets something out of it that switches their mindset, then we've won. We've created.
It's that simple.
Yeah, that's how it starts. So I don't know. That's my belief, and then after going through the 75 hard challenge, I'm only on day 18, but that's what I've noticed is when I start putting out that energy into the universe, I start to get that stuff back. I start to run into people like you. Hey, I'm in the gym more. We're having more conversations about this. I know we were talking about setting up the podcast the first time I met you, but then, it was a week or so ago, I said, hey man, I've been meaning to get a hold of you so we can do this. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not just one thing. There's so many different pieces to it, and we've got to remember that. And it is. One person changes, the next person changes. It is that domino effect you talked about, and that's what makes the difference in having people being willing to step out and talk, and then figure out, are they willing to talk to the next person and the next person? But darn it, it starts with you. It starts with you figuring out, where am I today and where do I want to be, and then how am I going to get there? And taking responsibility to do the work to get yourself there. That's the key. Mm-hmm. And I've seen people from horrible situations that have ended up in wonderful situations because they put in the work. Mm-hmm. None of this is easy. I don't care if you're an athlete, you're a business person, whatever you do, there will be adversity at some point in your life. I've known people that have started off with millions of dollars and have had the golden spoon, or whatever it's called, silver spoon, and life was great. But sooner or later, shit happens. It's going to happen. And it's having the mindset and the belief in yourself that you're going to be able to walk through it and get it done that's going to make the difference. I've watched people that have been very successful and they've had that happen and not been able to get past that negativity, that challenge, because they didn't have it in their mind because they'd always been given it. And I've seen the same thing where people walk right through it. Just because you started off with a lot doesn't mean you're going to end with a lot. Just because you started off with a little doesn't mean you're going to end with a lot. Everybody's going to go in different ways. One of my fundamentals of beliefs is everybody's got the ability to be great. We all have greatness inside ourselves. Now here's the key on that. I can't tell you what's great for you. I can tell myself what's great for me. But I believe everybody's got the opportunity to be great and they have it in themselves, but they have to determine what great is to them. I know some people with jobs that absolutely love it and they are great at their jobs and they don't want to do anything different than what they're doing. And that's greatness to them and they've decided, and it's great because they've got a great family, they've got other things going on, they're wonderful at what they do and they enjoy it. Where other people may look at them and go, wow, your life sucks. No. They're loving what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But that's their greatness that they decided. It's not my job to tell you what great is for you. It's not your job to tell me what great is for me. We all need to figure that out and then figure out what is our plan, my plan to get there. How am I going to work through that plan to get me there? And then be disciplined about doing it. We'll go back to your 75. 2 45-minute workouts. It takes discipline. Mm-hmm. I've got 3 little words that I echo consistently: structure, rigor, and discipline. I learned this a long time ago from a gentleman by the name of Sean Vick. It was his mantra. If you've got a good or a great structure, you work through the rigor of that structure, those little pieces, the little things that build up that structure. And then you're disciplined about doing it. You can't help but get better. I don't care whether it's athletes, salespeople, business leaders, relationships, whatever it may be. Find what you want to do. Figure out where you want to go. Identify the structure that you're going to use to get there. What is your process? What are the little things that make that process work? I'm not a golfer, but I'll use it. If you've got a golf swing and you just practice and this is your golf swing, swinging like a baseball bat every time, you're going to continue to suck, right? But if you all of a sudden figure out and you get coaching and you figure out you've got to change your swing and you change it, you'll get better. But that's that structure. Those are the little pieces. It's not just practice. You got to figure out what are the little things that I can do right, I can do better to constantly hone and get better and then be disciplined daily, weekly, monthly about doing it. And you will see those improvements. I don't say you will see it lightly, but you will. Because I've watched that happen. I've watched salespeople, I've watched athletes that have figured out what their structure is, their process, and then figured out what those little pieces are and disciplined about it. And I've watched them change their lives over and over and over again. But it comes right back to what we started with, that personal responsibility and figuring out it all comes back to me and the belief that I've got in me. Mm-hmm. And that's why my business is Max Belief, because you darn well better believe in yourself and have maximum belief in yourself. Plain and simple.
Yeah, well, and another thing that I thought about as you were talking is that consistency. That's another area where people get so tripped up. They got these goals, maybe they got these outlandish goals, and I've heard that there's different ways to break that down. So you may have a huge goal that you're eyeing towards, but you have to break that down into sub-goals. If I started 75 hard and I just thought about the end day, the 75th day, I would be overwhelmed. I would never start. I would keep putting it off. But it is the action of each and every day. It's the fact that you keep doing it regardless of how you feel. I think that's probably another excuse that victim culture would use is I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm just going to wait till I feel motivated. Well, that's not going to come. Actually, a lot of your motivation is going to come just from you taking action. And it's that spiral effect. And they start feeding off of each other. And so I think that's where a lot of people, they look at this big picture, like, how am I going to accomplish this thing? It's like, motherfucker, just start. Just start the timer on your watch. If you're fat, if that's the thing that you're thinking about, well, then just go do a 5-minute walk. Man, it's just starting somewhere. and then you will get more motivated in time to accomplish the next goal. And that's exactly what's happened throughout 75 Hard. It's been only 18 days, but sure, there have been times where I don't want to go in there. I started at a terrible time. It's November in Iowa, and one of those workouts has to be outside. So I'm going to be facing inclement weather until the middle of January. There's a million excuses, and I have a hard time sympathizing with those people that say, I'm just going to wait or aren't willing to put in the work, because it's like, the reason that your circumstances are the way that you are is, again, all those little decisions that we've made over time reinforce that loop, and now you're like, I can't do anything. It's like, no, you can. And it may seem hard right now, but it's literally like fuel to the fire. Every time you make a decision, you're depositing more accountability into that skill that you're developing, and it's infectious. Like I said, just like this conversation has been. You started off the rip like with tons of energy, and we're just bouncing off of each other. This shit gets me motivated. It's just what people need to hear to get going. I'm not gonna name names. She might watch the podcast. I had a coworker that was telling me, she's like, I'm just gonna wait till I don't feel that way. It's like, or until I find my purpose. Dude, it takes years for people to find their purpose. You and I got a political science degree, and you said you're doing something completely different. We are humans, dude.
I ended up in the psychology side of things, working with the mind. So
yeah.
Very, very different.
We're learning shit every day as humans. You're what? How old are you?
Old. 53. 53. Did you hear that? 53. Still learning stuff, though.
You're learning shit every day. You're changing every day. The mind is malleable. People think that it's just... It's stuck in its ways, and it's like, no, neuroplasticity. You can change your mind through repetition every day, and just know that that's going to happen if you keep going with it.
You said neuroplasticity. You want a great book on it. I wrote down the title because it's one of them that I wanted to bring up. It's called The Brain That Changes Itself.
Okay.
The Brain That Changes Itself, and it's a series of stories on neuroplasticity.
Awesome.
And the way that for so many years the idea of that was fought against, and how it has now been brought back into the mainstream, that our mind does change every day, that it does completely rebuild, and we start to talk about quantum physics and what's going on with all that fun stuff. It's very, very important to realize that our mind is malleable. Our mind can change. But if we don't do anything with it, and we don't change our thought processes, it's not going to. It's up to you, once again, to make that change happen. Now, I do want to take two steps back to something that you said about, starting the 75 Hard and going, gosh, if I just waited until it was out there. Now, I think it's a real key to be able to go, okay, what's that end going to be like? Mm-hmm. And when I work with athletes or even salespeople and other things, I tell them, I said, get a vision. Get a vision in your mind. Go into the future. We want to talk about neuroplasticity and all the fun stuff going on. Take yourself into the future. Go see what you're going to look like. Go see it. Actually go out in your mind and see yourself. What's it going to look like when you're done with that 75? Float right down into that moment in time. What's it going to look like? What's it going to sound like? What's it going to feel like internally to have that? And go ahead and get that in your mind. And actually let that come back in. Let it just ooze through your pores on what you're going to look like. And now on that morning when it's 10 below in January, and you've got to go outside and do your 45 minutes, you can go, okay, I've got that. I can go pull back the emotion that I know that I'm going to have, the feelings that I'm going to have, and be able to see myself, feel myself, hear myself of when I've actually accomplished this and I'm done, to have that motivation to get back up, get out of bed, and get your butt out the door and get it done. Mm-hmm. So I do think it's important to be able to see down the road and then find those goals as you go. Okay, so I know at 15 days, here's what I'm going to see myself. I know at 30 days, here's what I'm going to see. At 60 days, here's what I'm going to see. And this is going to be the end result. And when you can see that in, and then you can see yourself hitting those little goals, moving through it, you want to talk about motivation. Man, I just collected one. I put it in my pocket. I put some energy. Now I know that I did that. I know I can do the next one. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to take a look again. I go back in, I go out to the future, and I see what it was. And then you can do the same thing. You can go back to the past and go, okay, what are those decisions that I made before that didn't allow me to get out of bed? Well, I made that decision back when I was 12-year-old that I didn't like to go outside and exercise when it's cold out. Because our minds are plastic, because of everything. Go back in time. Go think about when you made that decision. Go, you know what? I'm going to remake that decision. As I was 12 years old, I'm going to decide I didn't do it. Neuroplasticity. Guess what? Your mind can start to change, can start to remake those decisions. If you said I didn't do that, then say, okay, I'm going to remake that decision to the decision I wanted then, and then just imagine yourself remaking that each time moving forward. One of the stories in this particular book that I just mentioned, The Mind That Changes Itself, talks about how they did a study. And they actually saw, they had athletes, some do specific activity, I think it was to strengthen the grip. And they had actual athletes working, or people working to strengthen their grip with, all the different exercises. And they had other people just doing it in their mind. No physical, no nothing. It was just role-playing that activity in their mind. After 30, 45 days, whatever it was, they did a sample. Of course, those physically working on grabbing and moving forward, they saw a gain. But those that never picked anything up, never did anything physical, none of the activity, gosh, I can't remember the percentage. It was like 45 to 50%, as much gain in strength as those who did it over actual physically. They never actually did it. Never did the motions. They just did it in their mind. But their mind was able to walk through it, and because they were doing it, the muscles actually grew in the body, and the strength grew with it.
That's insane.
So, if we can do that, just by thinking about it. So think about if you think about it. How do you like that one? Think about if you're thinking about it, and then you're actually doing it, and combine the two and layer those on top of each other. What is the capability now? And that's fun. And that allows us to move from that victimhood, to be able to know we can go in our mind to do it, to know that we can make those changes. Going back to what we've been talking about, it's that repetition work. It's what's your structure to do it. How am I going to do it? Am I going to do it in my mind? Am I going to do it physically? What are the little things that are going to make it right? And am I going to be disciplined about it? 3 very simple words: structure, rigor, discipline. But when you do, you're going to see improvements, and you will move in the direction that you want to move, that's going to get you towards your goals. And that's fun. Mm-hmm. That's fun. Mm-hmm. That's fun for you, and it becomes fun for the people around you to watch you do it, because you're going to be projecting that energy back out. What you believe is what you project, so on and so forth.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we're building that all around. And that's exciting. That's what drives me on a daily basis. That's why I love to go get in the pool or go to the gym and lift some weights, and because you're watching people do it, you're feeling it. I love working with salespeople because they're going out there doing it. If you're a sales guy, you get your head kicked in on a daily basis, right? You get no, you suck, no, you suck. But they get that win, and all of a sudden you watch them get up and get excited.
The serotonin's
and
up
they
there.
go do another, and they do another. It's fun to watch success happen, because you can't help but take from it. Thievery's a good thing. Intellectual thievery. It's a good thing. Take everything you can from everybody you're around to make yourself better. I'm not talking about taking wallets or cell phones or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. But steal from these people that you're around, that you see that are doing great things. Do it yourself. Put it into play. Change will happen. I'll get off my soapbox.
No, man. I think it's.
I think it's my coffee. See, it's working.
It is working, man. This is why I miss coffee. No, I think it's, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's such an important topic, because if you said, the majority of people, maybe not the majority, I don't know if it's 50-50 or what, but there are a lot of people that are out there conquering, and all it literally takes for the silent majority, or whatever you want to call them, that are not putting in the work, it literally just takes seeing one person to start to create a little bit of a flicker in your mind of belief, and then you give into that, and then it starts to grow, and then you do a little bit more that's outside of your comfort zone, and you're like, wow, I can actually accomplish that, and it's this ripple effect. And so that's always my advice to people, especially that haven't started, is like, you think all of these things are impossible, but all you have to do is get going.
It takes one step.
Yeah.
One step. You said it before. 5-minute walk. Nothing more. 5-minute walk.
Hell, dude, back in May, that's when I first started doing walks every day. It was probably, 30 minutes, and here I am, 45 minutes a day, and I do it every day. I never miss it.
And you're leading the board on push-ups.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so that mindset applies to everything, and I've really noticed, if I'll go back to 75 hard and say, the one thing I've noticed the most is the mindset. So if you're going to apply that to the push-up challenge, if there's somebody that's behind me that's done 200 push-ups, I'm like, motherfucker, you're going to stay in here and do 250. You're not leaving until you at least match them and go above. But again, going back to these small decisions, people think that just by training your mind in the gym, that's the only place that it exists. No, it exists at home. It exists everywhere else. Like, I pay attention to the little details of my apartment, like when I clean it up. And I think when you understand that, and you understand that it's a skill, and you apply that to every part of your life, you'll just start to see little things that start to change. I mean, fuck, like, I even have a lot of social anxiety, so a lot of times I'm fearful of approaching people. I saw you that one day, I immediately thought about the podcast, and I hadn't reached out to you, and I'm like, that needs to happen. I'm going to go up and talk to him. I don't care how fearful I may be. And look, like, this is
intimidating, I tell you what.
Well, you work out pretty hard, man. You're down in the pool, and then you come up, and that's essentially doing 2 workouts right there.
Yeah.
In the pool, that's
I
a full
can't
body
lift
workout.
unless I get in the pool first, because my joints are so screwed up from abusing my body for so many years. I gotta get them flowing so then I can get up and lift.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's my reasoning behind it.
Well, hey, man, at least you're showing up. You're putting in the work almost every day.
It's fun.
It is. I had another question that I was thinking of as you were talking. What do you do for yourself? We all go through, like, just how you were saying earlier, it's inevitable for us humans to face adversity and challenges and things that are going to throw us off of our momentum. And it's our duty to recognize that, maybe wallow for just a second and say, this fucking sucks, but I'm going to get around it. So in your personal life, whether it's been through business, physically, relationships, have you ever gotten yourself, well, we've all gotten ourselves in ruts. How do you identify that you are in one? How do you manage trying to get past it? What are the tools that you've pulled through your experiences to do that? Because I think that'd be really helpful for people too, because I go through ruts just like everybody else, where I don't feel
Everybody's going to.
Yeah.
We all will get stuck. Number one is being able to, for me personally, is take that step outside yourself and see that you're stuck, or realize that I'm in a place that's not good. And I think part of that is having good people around you that are going to look at you and go, dude, you're an idiot. Figure it out. You haven't done anything worthwhile in X amount of time. But talking about having those good people around you is I think it's important to have somebody that you trust in, and I'm going to use the word coach. I've got 2 or 3 different people that I know I can pick up the phone, or I can jump online and I can say, I'm stuck, I need help. And that they're going to step in as a coach and help me. I think if you're an athlete, if you're a business person, you should have somebody that is out there coaching you. And I mean, I do sell coaching, so of course I'm going to say that. But it's not even that you have to pay for it. It's find somebody that's going to be like-minded, that's going to be able to coach you and speak the truth. I do think there is advantage to having somebody that's going to sit down and you're going to work out your goals and work out that structure and everything else from a coaching perspective, and that you should do it yourself. But have that individual around you that you know that you can reach out to, or is going to look at you and go, hey, knock that shit off, get your mind straight. It starts in your mind and then it filters down through the rest of the body. But you've got to have that awareness of self, and then that individual that's able to step in and help you. I've got a person that I talk to down in Florida. I've got a person that I talk to out in New York. I've got a person that I talk to here locally, that I know at any point in time I can pick up the phone and go, hey, I'm stuck, I need help. That my mind's not in the right place. I'm gonna go meet with a client, and I gotta get my mind right. Give me that swift kick upside the head, tell me the truth, help me get it figured out, and let's go. And that's been a godsend to be able to have that person. Now, I've reached out and I've had people professionally coach me too, because I want to be better at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's finding that individual that you can trust, that can do that, be it professionally, be it personally. But it doesn't have to cost a ton of money. It can cost, but at least find somebody that you can reach to that will do that, smack you upside the head. We're going to get into reality. And then when you think about a coach, that's what they do. You're here, they're going to help you get to here. And they're not, I mean, you've been around coaches in your life, is my guess. Most often, they're speaking the truth. It's
not
like,
nice.
oh, it's a lovely day.
Nice.
That was great that you tried. No, that was bullshit. Work harder, right? So that's important to be able to have that. And I think that is an absolute key. It's been a key for me my entire life, and luckily I'm surrounded by a lot of incredible people, and that helps. It's my family, it's the outside network that I've built, and it's one of the biggest things. And a regular check-in with that individual too is, you know, whether it be weekly, monthly, whatever it may be, but have that check-in and go, okay, here's what I've done. What do you see? I think I'm doing great. They may say, yeah, you're doing great. What are you going to do next? They may say, you're full of shit. Let's move forward. But you've got to have that trust first. Trust is the key.
That's so smart. That's such a good piece of advice, because sometimes, even though you experience life inside of your head, you're the one talking to yourself most of the time. You're not talking to other people as much as you talk to yourself. Sometimes other people can identify what you can't see, or if you made a couple wrong turns and you didn't identify them, you can have that pinpointed out.
Yes.
I totally agree with that, and the best example I could give is my therapist. I don't have to see her as much as I used to, but we know each other so well. We have that trust, like you said.
Yeah.
She has OCD problems like I do, so she understands everything that I go through. And usually I don't allow myself to get to that point anymore, but sometimes it happens and I have to call her, or I'll have a few mishaps and she'll snap me right back out of it. Mm-hmm. Fucking slap you in the face. And that, I want to reiterate that to people, is that is nice right there. Like, we're talking about coaches who are not being nice to your face. That is probably the best thing somebody could do for you, because they're not sugarcoating shit. Right. We're not playing this victim mentality. We're not playing this participation trophy society where people think that by just crying or complaining they're going to get shit handed to them. You need people to tell you the honest truth, and you know the truth. People just cover it up with lies. If you're fat, you know you're fucking fat. You just don't want to look in the mirror and admit it.
Why'd you just call me fat?
Oh, that's such a great piece of advice. Like, I think people need to find, as you were talking, I'm thinking like it's almost like a home base that you can come back to. You get out, you swing the bat, you get to first base. Sometimes you get caught in a pickle. I don't know if you're a baseball guy, but you know, you get caught in between second base and first base, but you got to come back to home base.
Yeah.
And I think another thing I thought about as you were saying that is a lot of people have this ego issue where they can't drop their ego to go have these conversations with other people. You got to keep your ego in check and realize that you cannot do everything by yourself. You can do a lot of things by yourself. It starts with the individual. That's what we're talking about here today. That's the topic of conversation, is changing yourself. But we're human. We crave communication with other people. That helps our mind. Just by this conversation, like, if people are gonna watch this in the video form, like, look at our fucking body language, man. We're just going back and forth off of excitement, because it's exciting. You gotta talk to other people, dude. They're gonna motivate you.
Ego's a huge thing. Like I say, I work with athletes. I've worked with a lot of different athletes. I work with salespeople. You want to talk about egos? Deal with salespeople. It's like herding cats. But even the best, there are times that things are going to come up, and the best have that ego. They know that they're great, and they know that they're going to go out there. But when you are the best, you are the top in what you do, they're able to suck that up and go, okay, I need help. At some point or another, everybody needs help. Mm-hmm. There's no way around it. There will come a time every person's going to need help. And being able to realize, believe in yourself, believe in everything else, but then also have that belief that okay, it's okay to put my hand out and say, yeah, pull me along.
Mm-hmm.
I need help on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll help you when you come up. I mean, but everybody's going to need it at some point, and it is okay to drop that ego. It's okay to say, I need that help. In fact, that can allow that ego to grow, because now you see what you're doing, and as you help back, and there's nothing better than helping somebody get past something, accomplish their goals. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
Once again, it goes back to that human relation that you were just talking about, that give and take. If you help somebody and all of a sudden they win,
that's fucking
you just
awesome,
won too,
bro.
You just won too. You
Yes.
were part of it.
Yes.
So for me as an old man, I can't go out there and win like I used to win. Now I can help younger people win, and I can still say, yeah, my ego right there, right?
Yeah.
But it's part of it.
Well, and it's just about having a healthy balance of ego, because all those great people talking about the belief in themselves, they didn't get to where they are at without an ego. You need an ego to drive you, but
Yes.
you cannot be one of those egotistical people that feeds off of that ego and can't check it when you need some advice, because the worst thing that you could do for yourself is think that you understand everything, you have all the knowledge possible to navigate this life. Like we just said, you're 53, dude, you're learning every year. And if you think that if you stop learning, or when people get complacent and stay in their comfort zone, that's why they don't feel alive, because you need to get out of your comfort zone. You need to have new experiences. There has to be a balance of the known and the unknown. Without the unknown, you don't grow. But we are humans. We like that structure. We need habits that ground us to earth, because your day's you can have the same habits, but your day's going to be different. So those habits are the things that ground you, but then you have different experiences throughout the day. I see Kirk in the gym. We set up the podcast. I'm assuming after this podcast, our relationship is going to be a little bit different, because we've had this conversation. We've established this trust, and I would hope out of this, there's a friendship that evolves.
I'm not going to just ignore you like normal.
Well, like I said, man, usually when I come in there, I'm like, man, I don't want to talk to people. I just want to get my workout done. But that's also the side of it that I love, is that in this small community of like-minded people that come to the gym, I love having those conversations, because you guys are all getting after it just like I am. And just like we were saying, finding the right people to surround yourself with, even if we're not going to hang out every day, because that's not possible. We're leading our own lives. It's going to be good to see you in the gym. It's going to be good to update each other. I hope in the future I can tell you that this podcast is growing. You were telling me before we started about all your experiences in different countries. Like, you're an interesting individual, man.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that I met you. This has been a fucking awesome conversation.
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm just going to let it lie. I've been on my soapbox enough. I'm just going to let it lie.
Sometimes I get going and I don't know where I'm going with the conversation, so I just let it roll. I don't know how long we've been going here.
We've been rolling pretty good here.
So it might be time to cut it off.
I think so.
Kirk, where can people find you for your business?
Well, for my business, you can reach out to me. It's maxbelief.com, one word. If you type it in, maxbelief.com. Actually, I put this together the other day. If you go to my website and on it, under the coaching tab on the website, if you go down to goal set, I've got a sheet that you can download that is a worksheet on setting goals. If you go ahead and based off of our conversation today, you want to go into that website, you download that, fill it out, send it to me via email. My email's on there. It's kirk@maxbelief.com. I'll give you some feedback on it. I'll give you a couple pointers, a couple things that can be done. No cost, no anything else. Just download that, let it go. I'm here to help people. That's really what drives me, once again. So it's maxbelief.com, Kirk Gibson. If you've got any questions, you know how to get a hold of me too. So
yeah, and I was thinking too, like, if you want to give me all that information, I'll plug it in the show notes. So then if they forget, they can go right there.
Good.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on. This has been awesome. I hope we can do it in the future. I really think this is probably an episode that a lot of people are going to enjoy. I think what you're doing is awesome. The fact that you're trying to help people, I think that's what we should all be after.
It goes right back to you as well.
That's how you fucking make money. You know what I mean? And once people shift their shift their objective as a business, once you start offering people something that can help them, then it comes, man. Then it's like you're not selfish anymore. It's like help other people.
Got to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Cole, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, man.